Good morning. You're listening to the BLAINESWORLD show, heard each Wednesday here on WPVM 103.7 FM, Nashville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVM.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely Fairview, North Carolina. Each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guest, and she is Candice Dickinson. Welcome aboard, Candice.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm glad you waved, because you just waved to all your fans and friends on Facebook as well. So hopefully they're watching. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have you on board, Candice, because we were slated to be on board, have a show together, I guess just about a year ago, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And then you scheduled this whole pandemic just to get out of being on my show, you know. But no, it's really, you were in the middle of something and I was in the middle of something. And so I'm glad we finally got together.
Yes, me too.
Okay, I should mention that Candice works at HART as an associate director and is passionate about how live arts can impact the community. After graduating from East Carolina University with BFA in musical theater and professional acting, Candice spent time in New York City in various regional theaters, honing her craft. She's thrilled to be back in Western North Carolina, enjoying the beautiful mountains and working for a theater that truly has her heart. I love that. Great line. And Candice, the question I always ask, I ask a bunch of questions to people the first time I meet them. But the first question I have is, when did you first get into theater?
I really can't remember a time when I wasn't into theater, to be honest. I know that I started both voice and dance when I was 5 years old, and I've really never stopped. It's just something I was attracted to right away, and as I grew up, my passion for it grew with me, and it just served me more, and I've dedicated my life to theater.
And what was your first show?
Oof. Whew. Well, there was a lot of like little ones at, kids acting camps and stuff like that. I remember the first like main stage show that I was a part of was at Flat Rock Theater, and it was called The Witch and the Magic Mountain, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was when I was probably like eight or nine.
So that's very cool. Professional theater at age of 8 and 9. Now, here's the question. I kind of know the answer, but I'm going to share with you a fundraising idea for you. So the question is, do they have, or is anywhere available a tape of that performance?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess I would have to go out to Flat Rock and ask them.
And my thinking is probably not, because a lot of theaters, and you guys too, have restrictions about taping. Mm-hmm. But here's the idea for the fundraiser, Candice, and HART could do it. I'd be glad to help you with it. But somebody's going to be the first to do it. And that is that you get everybody together and do their very first number or song they ever did as a kid. You know, so can you imagine?
So fun.
Wouldn't it be though? Everybody, and they all have like 5 minutes, you know, and if they were a tree, that would be cool. Or if they were an Easter bunny, whatever. But wouldn't that be a fun thing to do? And I'm offering, I've told a couple of theaters that, but I'd be glad to help you with it. I just think it would be a fun thing.
I love that idea.
And plus, you said, you know, so your two dogs could see it. People have never seen, you know, this performance. They've seen you as an adult, but they've never seen you as a kid, you know. Or it doesn't have to be that show. Do you remember the first musical you were ever in?
Oh, well, that one was a musical.
Oh, okay. But but can you imagine singing it?
Gosh, oh man.
Well, just keep that in the back of your mind.
I will.
Let's talk about that sometime. But I just think it'd be, everybody would get such a goof out of it, especially to be able to show their kids, their families, you know, that this was what they were 30 years ago, 50 years ago. I just think it'd be so much fun, and be a review, but a review like nobody's ever done before.
It would. I do remember the song in Witch and the Magic Mountain was, "Tell me a story of stories." And that's all I remember of it.
was that what you were that was the solo number?
I think so. I think it was either a group number. I might have sang that on my own though. Either way, I made it a solo at home.
Well, that's pretty impressive stuff though. You remember it. Now you continued then acting throughout high school and college?
Yep. Yeah,
Do
I
you
went.
remember?
I actually went to Wake Forest for my freshman year. I thought I was gonna major in opera, and got there and realized, no, I really want to do theater, not opera. So I transferred to ECU and then finished out there.
What was your first leading role?
In college or
Or in
ever?
high school, wherever you first.
I think in middle school, I got to play Alice in Wonderland. And then in high school, my first lead was Ariel in Footloose.
Okay, oh, that's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
That's a big role though. So anyway, so then you were acting throughout high school and college, and then you were doing you started doing some professional acting. Well, yeah, Flat Rock, you were doing professional acting, but what acting after college did you do?
Well, I was a very interesting path after college. I did do some acting, but I really realized in my senior year of college that directing was what I really, really loved. I had spent my whole life in theater, more on the acting side of it. And then I got a chance a few times in college to direct something. And I realized that that was really where my passion lied. It kind of, put together all of the things that I loved about theater and just being a leader and the way talking to actors, the rehearsal process, just all of these things that kind of just clicked like, oh, shoot, I think directing is actually more of the path I want to go on, and have acting be a secondary. So really, once I left college, my journey became a lot about like, okay, now I want to learn everything I can about directing, and I want to really go down that path. So I worked at a few regional theaters, acting wise, but I joined a directors group when I was up in New York. And tried to focus on that. I actually produced a show while I was up there and directed a show up there. And then that kind of led me to directing at regional theaters. I got really involved in this theater in Nebraska. And that was when I really saw like, okay, I want to leave the city and I want to be at one theater, which is what brought me back here.
I was going to ask you, so what did bring you back to Western North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it was really that my whole life I thought that what I loved about theater and what I wanted was to be in New York. I wanted to be in the hub and I wanted to do it at, the highest level. And I thought that's what I wanted until I got there. And I really realized that what I really love about theater is that personal connection and that community aspect, that when you are working at a smaller theater, at a community theater, you really get to know the people and you get to really feel that family element. That was something that was really huge for me that I found that I was missing in New York, and even traveling. Traveling was nice, but I really wanted to just feel that family aspect and like I said, see how I can change a community when you really stay there. Because I think the arts, especially the live arts, can have such incredible impacts on people. And I think you really got to see that by like being in one place and kind of seeing where you can take it.
And one of the nice things about HART is that, first of all, I'm so glad you're now with them, I guess, full time or however you call it. But it's so good because it almost seemed like if ever there was a job created for a person, this was a job for you. That, I mean, you've acted there, you've directed there, but now to actually be on staff is kind of exciting. So now you're involved in not just acting and directing, but you're involved in a whole bunch of other things with HART. What else do you do at HART? Aside from, well, you do just about everything.
I was
right?
going to say, what don't I do?
Yeah.
No, my official title. So my official title is associate director, and under that is production manager, box office manager, and volunteer coordinator. So how I like to explain it is basically that means that any single person that is involved with HART, I am the point of contact. So if you're a patron coming to see a show, getting a ticket, you're going to talk to me. If you're a volunteer or an artist who's working with the theater, you're going to talk to me as the production manager. Or if you're a volunteer just coming to usher or help us paint, you're also going to talk to me.
And one of the nice
so I'm
things
kind
too,
of that in between.
if anything goes wrong, you're going to speak to you also.
Yes.
You're going to hear that.
I'm going to talk to myself too.
Okay. Well, let's now talk a little bit about what I think is really exciting that HART now is finally now getting back into the swing of things. Let's talk about maybe two things that HART's been doing. So even before we talk about the current show you're working on, HART was doing some things which I think was really cool virtually. And talk a little bit about some of those things.
Absolutely. I mean, we really, we couldn't stop, we're a community theater, and we're a nonprofit, which means we serve our community. And how we do that is by creating artistic opportunities for the artists in Western North Carolina. And so we didn't want to let anything get in the way of that, even a pandemic. So yeah, we ended up creating, I believe, 6 different virtual shows. It was really fun to kind of see how that went too. The first one, was kind of small and done at people's homes. And then the next one got a little bigger, the next one, and they just got more technically better every time. I don't know if that was the right grammar, but the sound got better, the lighting got better, the quality got better every time, as we kind of got more confident with it. And you can actually still view all of those shows by going to hearttheater.org/online events, and you'll see all those. And a lot of them you can still watch because they're up on our YouTube.
By the way, just for the benefit of the people who spell it wrong, how do you spell Heart Theater?
HART, and then it's THEATRE.
Right, that's how I spell it too.
We're the fancy theater, yeah.
Right. But I'm glad you shared that, because I didn't realize it was still available to people.
Yeah.
But I know I'm sure I saw a bunch of them, but I remember in particular the last 2 were just so good, and I didn't realize that in your spare time you also have now become this technical guru as well, that you now do the filming of these shows too.
Yes, and a lot of that, I have been filming them, but I do need to credit Nicole Sumter with a lot of that, because she provided the equipment and she also did all of the editing. So without her, it would not have existed. But it was very fun to be on the filming side of the camera, for sure.
But they were so good, and they were really shot well. The music was great, and it's kind of fun because I didn't realize how much I miss theater, but I do, And
well, me too.
I can imagine. I saw Candice the first time, maybe several months ago. Disney had a Hamilton. I'd never seen Hamilton.
Oh, it's so good.
Right, and I got it just to get to see Hamilton, and I dropped it the next day. But I was in tears watching Hamilton. It was just so exciting to see theater. And when you did the productions, it really felt like I was, I could see the stage. It looked great. It was. Nicole then does deserve a thumbs up, because it was really well done, and the music was good, the performances were good, and it was really a lot of fun to watch. So the question I'll have, put you on the spot a little bit, but moving forward, we're going to be in live theater. Do you think Heart and other theaters will also still have a virtual option?
I think there's definitely ways to incorporate it. It definitely gets, when you think about, like, could we stream a show or something like that? That does get complicated because of licensing and getting the rights. It would actually really increase the cost on the theater end. However, I think that the things that we learned, especially like how to film, how to edit, and kind of using that to promote our shows and to share more about our shows, that's what I'm really excited about. You can even, go to our Facebook and Instagram right now, and you'll see some videos that we shot of Say Goodnight Gracie, the show that's about to come, kind of as some advertisements for it. And that's something that I think will always stay, that we haven't necessarily done in the past, because we've always just, done things live, and maybe we'll post some pictures. But now we've really seen, wow, we can make these videos, and we can make these promotional videos really high quality now, which will be great.
Because I'm hoping, like I said, that, theaters will even, maybe after the run, shows, in that it can be done. And I'm reading, and you are too probably, that some theaters are starting to look at this, as an option, that if I can't get there for the 3-week run, or I'm out of town or something, I'd love to be able to see it. But let's talk about the one you just mentioned, because I'm excited. This will be the first show I've seen in over a year. I saw, I don't know if you've seen Magnetic, had an outdoor experience. It was very well done. I saw that. What? Yeah.
They did a great job with that.
But here it's going to be, I can actually see a show in a theater. What are you doing to make that possible?
Oh my goodness. So, well, I'm actually at the theater, so I can, for those Facebook Live people, you can actually see right now. So we have these tables set up. It's very much kind of cabaret style. So all the seats are socially distanced. They're all 6 feet apart. But we put a table with every seat. That way it feels a little more like you're just like in a nightclub watching theater, and you don't really feel like, oh, why is that person so far away from me? It's actually like, oh, this is a really wonderful space, and this is my space. And, so the views are really great. It's a lot of leg room, and every single table has every single chair has a table. So really enjoyable for the audience. There's a lot of safety procedures that we've taken in general, though. And we actually, speaking of using technology more, we created a video that people can go online to our website and view. And it's going to walk you through exactly what your experience is going to be like when you come to see one of our COVID safe shows.
Because what it reminds me of, as you just showed the theater, the show you did, I think it was last year, helped me with the shout out to the person in charge of it.
Stardust.
Yeah, I loved it. Oh, was that fun? And who, again, I should know it. Who?
Glenn. That was Glenn Arnett.
Glenn Arnett did such a great job with that. But was that fun? It was like I was at a nightclub,
Exactly. And this is very, very similar in how we set it up.
Right, as a one-person show, but Glenn did such a good job on that, and it was so much fun to watch. And so just seeing it reminds me a little like this. But talk about the show that people are going to see if they come to it.
Absolutely. So we are already in the middle of Say Goodnight, Gracie. It is a one-person show starring Pasquale Lacourt, and he is playing the iconic George Burns. So if you don't know who George Burns is, first of all, come and see the show so you can learn about him. But he is really amazing because he lived to be 100 years old. And in those 100 years, he was a success at vaudeville, and then radio came along, and they became icons in radio, then talkies, then TV, then movies, and he even won an Oscar at the age of 80 for The Sunshine Boys. So really within this one person's life, you get to see how the entertainment industry changed and evolved in 100 years. And what really makes the story special, and where the title comes from, is that George Burns really credits all of his success to the love of his life, which was Gracie Allen. And she was his comedic partner and life partner. And he always says she's the funny one. She's the one that kind of made all the success for them. So this show is both a love letter to entertainment and also to Gracie, which is really, really heartwarming and just exactly what you want right now. I mean, the audiences are just smiling the whole time, laughing the whole time. You might cry a little at the end, but it's, a good cry. So it's exactly what you want.
And just as you mentioned it, the person you have acting this has to be the perfect choice. I mean, Pasquale, I haven't seen him in this role, but anything I've seen him in, he's just knocked my socks off. He's just such a fine actor.
Yes.
So people are in for a treat if they see this show. When this show, let's see, when they're watching this show, will it be in its first run? The show runs when? It
runs April 8th through the 18th.
Okay.
And there is a possibility that it might come back at a later date, but make sure to see it the 8th through the 18th.
And people get to see it, they have the option to see it. When do you have the shows? Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday night at 7:30, and then a matinee on Sundays. And that's both weeks.
Okay. And so the matinee on Sundays, what time?
2:00.
Okay, I'll be there because I thank you for that. It's a little earlier than used to have the matinees. It used to be at 3 sometimes. The Sundays.
No, I think they were normally 2.
Okay.
Some other theaters do 3:00 though.
Okay, but going to be such a great show. And so you mentioned the safety protocols. So you come in, people have to wear masks, right, for the show. Do we get a temperature taken?
Yep, you're going to get, right as the moment you get here, you get your temperature taken, and there's a little screening just to see if you are experiencing any of the symptoms of COVID. You will be required to have a mask, and we ask that you keep your mask on at all times unless you're actively eating or drinking. We do have concessions available, and those are going to be in a little bit of a different spot just to create some more safety. You kind of go outside to get them. But again, it's really, if you have any of these questions, or if you're kind of wondering, is this for me? Am I going to feel safe there? I really encourage you to go online to our website and watch that safety video.
Terrific idea, just to show people what they go through. So now this is hopefully just the beginning of the start of the season. Following this show, And again, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Really looking forward to it. And I told you, as a compliment to you and Pasquale and to Hart, this is the first show I'll actually be in, a live show. So I'm so excited in a theater. Can you imagine? If people actually used to, people actually used to go to theaters? It was
Crazy,
time.
right?
Yeah, can you imagine? So after this, what's next after the show?
So we are going to bring another one-person show, and it actually did have a run in Asheville in 2019. That show is Love Linda, starring Karen Covington Yao, who's the same person who starred in it back in Asheville in 2019. And Love Linda is the story of Mrs. Cole Porter. So they had a very interesting, kind of unique, unconventional relationship, but she was his biggest muse. Really, almost all of the music that you hear that Cole Porter wrote, she had a hand in, and she kind of inspired. And it's just a lovely evening of music and memories. So it very, very kind of similar feeling with both of these first two shows that we are presenting. It's just a lovely night at the theater. You're going to laugh and you're going to smile and you're going to leave kind of singing a tune.
And just to give a shout out to Karen, who I saw when the show was in Nashville, and she'll knock your socks off. I mean, have you seen it yet?
I haven't gotten to see it yet. I didn't get to see it in Asheville, but I've had the pleasure of working with Karen. I directed her in Black Mountain a few years ago, and just loved working with her and wanted to work with her again. So when I heard about this show, I was like, well, let's get her over here.
It's just such an incredible show. Whether you know who Cole Porter was or you don't, either way, you're going to love the show. It's almost like you said, almost like the George Burns thing. But it's a great kind of history lesson, story lesson, it's just, and I know a lot of details, of Cole Porter's story. So I just loved it. So when will that show run?
That's going to be April 22nd to May 2nd. And it's the same times as Say Goodnight Gracie. So Thursday, Friday, Saturdays at 7:30 and then 2:00 on Sunday.
Now, do you have the rest of your schedule lined up for the year?
Yes, we do. So there's a little bit of flexibility, which is why people haven't necessarily heard us announce all of our shows yet. We have kind of our A plan, which is, if things continue to go well with vaccines and we're able to open up at full capacity, what that would look like. And we also have a B plan in case something happens and we have to continue to do socially distanced theater. But either way, we will absolutely be having theater pretty much every weekend for the rest of the year here at HART. One that I can definitely go ahead and announce now, if you'd like, is going to be coming in May, and that's going to be a Shakespeare piece directed by Dwight Childs, which will be another socially distanced, really fun piece. And I'll probably come back on the show and talk about that, so we don't have to go in it too much right now.
Well, can you tell the name of the show yet?
Yes, it's called A Love of Shakespeare.
Oh, okay.
So it's a collection of Shakespeare scenes. It's not going to be one show. It's actually it's a lot of Shakespeare scenes, but it's an original piece that Dwight is writing that kind of weaves all of these scenes together.
Again, just hearing some of these names, so I missed so much, Dwight being one of them, incredibly talented actor, but also a talented director, just
so creative and one of my best friends. I love Dwight. We actually met here at HART. We did producers together 12 years ago now, I think.
Oh, did you really? I think must have been just before I came to Western North Carolina. The very first show I ever saw at HART, I think, trying to remember, and it sold me on the theater. It was Jane Eyre, was it? Musical?
Oh, gosh, yes, with Emily McCurry. She was or Warren, I guess, at that time. Right. She was fantastic.
But I just remember that. So I went to this, we never been to the theater. And going to the mountains of Western North Carolina, you see this beautiful theater. For the benefit of the people who haven't been to HART yet, hopefully they'll get there, and encourage our second guest to come see a show there too. Just such a beautiful theater. And talk a little bit about what you've also done, Candice, which I think has been brilliant. How you already had, I think, one of the most beautiful theaters in Western North Carolina, if not I think the best theater, best looking theater, and also best performing theater. But then you added, what was it, 2 years ago, you added a second theater to keep you busy. Yes. And then on top of that, hopefully next winter, you'll have three things going at once too. But talk about the second theater you have, where we're going to be seeing Goodnight Gracie.
Yes. So the Fangmeyer Theater is, again, the theater that I'm in tonight. And it's really what has allowed us to open up before several of the other theaters in town. Because the unique thing about the Fangmeyer space is that it kind of has this open seating plan that we can create our own seating every time. So, we have the capability to do shows in the round, meaning audience on all four sides, alleyway where there's an audience on one side or the other, thrust, so on and so forth, really any kind of creative seating that we want. And that is why we've been able to set it up like this with the cabaret style and kind of have these seats wherever we want them, to create that distance both between the actors and the audience members. So really, really blessed to have this space, and kind of all the flexibility it allows us.
And then what also you did at HART too, which I always enjoyed, in the middle of winter, then you also kind of create almost a third space, and talk a little bit about that one, where I've seen some really fine stuff. And what do you call that series?
Yes. So that's our studio series, which is in our Feichter studio. So we have our main stage, our Fangmeyer, and then the Feichter studio. And the Feichters were a family that was really, really involved with HART even before it was here, and it was just a little place on Main Street. And the studio theater is a really incredible spot because it offers us what studio theaters offer a lot of theaters, which is, kind of a more edgy season. You can kind of push boundaries a little bit, push your audience, kind of do things that aren't so commercial. And then you also get to experience new directors because, we have a lot of people, directors and actors that come to us and they want to do a certain show, but it's kind of a risk to put them right on the main stage right away. So if you are a new director and you're trying to get involved with HART, the best way to do it is to do a show during our studio season. So a director comes and they say, like you interviewed Doug last year on gruesome playground injuries, which I was actually a part of. And so he came and said, there's this really edgy piece. It has a lot of cussing. It's, in non-chronological order. It's a little edgy. It's called Gruesome Playground Injuries. I've never directed here, but I've acted here a lot. What do you say? And he put it on and it was so fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite plays I've ever gotten to act in. It was really wonderful.
And that's one of the things I missed this past winter, that I used to love going to in the middle of the winter. Yes, but there was such interesting stuff. And like you said, a lot of times it's phenomenal acting, but directing, and it just shows I hadn't seen elsewhere or never would see elsewhere. So that was kind of exciting. Is planned to have that again?
Oh yeah, we definitely will. We didn't this year because, well, everyone knows why. But yeah, that'll definitely be coming back in 2022. We'll have a full studio season as well as our normal main stage season.
And talk finally, Candice, about one other thing I believe you folks do. You have a youth program. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about that.
Kids at HART has been so active. Forever, but they didn't stop for a second during this pandemic. Sheila Sumter, who is in charge of that program, she's built it from nothing to what it is today, and she's really the backbone of that. So they've had so much activities for the kids. They've done lots of like Zoom meetings, fun games, little activities. She's also had classes. They were on Zoom for a little while, but now they are back in person, obviously, socially distanced and with a mask on. But yeah, they're in the middle of spring classes right now. We actually just had auditions for Sister Act Junior, and they are going to start rehearsals for that soon. And same thing, it's very, very safe. They're going to be distanced while rehearsing, wearing masks while rehearsing. And then as those kind of things lift and they're able to perform without their masks, then we'll open up the show.
Tell Sheila, we've been in touch, but tell her I'd like to do a show also on the kids theater, with Sheila. So she and I have been in touch, I think via email, but when you speak to her, tell her that I'd like to get her on the show as well, just talk about that program. Especially
I'll let her know.
Maybe for an upcoming show. Anyway, as we close, let me just ask you one last time, if folks want to get more information about the upcoming show, about George Burns, about Karen Carrington's show, best bet is do what, Candice?
So you can go two ways. You can either go to hearttheater.org, and again, that's spelled HART theatre.org, and you can buy tickets right there for Say Goodnight Gracie and Love Linda, or you can call our box office at any time, and that number is 828-456-6322, and you can reserve your tickets that way as well.
I'm impressed. And you have that remembered, that number? Very good.
Well, you know, I have memorized a few things in my life.
Yeah. Anyway, Candice, so nice to finally get to speak to you on the air here. I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, if you're there when I see Goodnight Gracie.
Oh, I will. I will be there literally every night.
Okay. And again, thanks for being our guest this first half hour on the BLAINESWORLD show. As you kind of work your way out, I'm going to kind of see if I can make Candice disappear, or she can make herself disappear. I'll have our second guest come on board. Thanks, Candice. Speak to you soon. Okay, so let me see. There we go. And when I have David come in, and David's right on target. Hey, David. As David gets set up, let me just mention that you're listening to WPVM 103.7. Our mission is to foster community through programming that cultivates dialogue to inform and entertain. The station provides the medium for artists, businesses, community leaders, and nonprofits to share their voice on live radio and also via Facebook Live. Listeners are invited to help support WPVM's efforts by making a tax-deductible contribution. You can do so going to the website, wpvmfm.org, and looking at the donate option on the upper right-hand side. It's next my pleasure to introduce kind of a new friend here, and he is David Riddell. And welcome aboard, David. I can't hear you, David.
Right. Sorry.
There we go. Okay.
Good morning. How does one follow Candice? She was radiant.
Okay, it's tough, but you'll I'm sure do an equally fine job. David, also you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world. So if you're watching or listening, this is David Riddell, and David is the owner of Big Frog custom T-shirts and more. He's also he's from the area. He's married with 2 kids. Moved back 8 years ago. He was a retail district manager for 25 years, member of 4 chambers, on the board for one, and ambassador on another. His store opened in 2016. Big Frog is your local apparel branding expert, helping keep logos visible everywhere through screen printing and embroidery of custom garments. I should have worn my shirt today, Dave. I'm sorry I didn't wear it. No minimum order, no design fees, just a really good company to work with. And David, the question I always ask when I meet somebody for the first time on the air here is, you're now an entrepreneur, a networker extraordinaire, you're a bunch of different things. How did you get into being this guy who started a company called Big Frog?
So you go through, anybody who works for corporate America, you do it because you think the harder you work, the more you're going to be rewarded, when ultimately you're just a number. And some people figure it out sooner than others that you've been climbing the corporate ladder, and then at some point you wake up and go, it's been leaning against the wrong building. I should be climbing my own building. And so then you have to take the leap to entrepreneurship. And there's a Steve Harvey clip out there now that's been out a couple of years, him filming in between Family Feuds. And he's standing on the end of the stage talking to the audience and says, you just have to jump. And regardless of what it is, in any relationship, in any business, don't be afraid, just do it. And so mid to late 40s, and we've got 2 kids in stable business America, right? But that all ends whether you get aged or moneyed out, or you decide it's time to go. What do? I want to work for myself, and having a retail background, so I knew processes, people, business. My wife's a payroll bookkeeper. Then you say, where are we going? What are we doing? And that's kind of what it is. Just jump.
So that's when did you start Big Frog?
So Big Frog is a franchise, and we're just there's 85 stores. I have 2 of them. I also have one in Durham, and Big Frog started 12 to 14 years ago. It was late 2015, so we opened 5 years ago. And the reason we did that, what I liked about corporate America is there's structure, there's systems, there's support, there's training. What I didn't like about corporate is you were a number, and you just went about the cookie cutter life. So when you put the 2 together, a franchise allows you to be the individual, the human, and your own entrepreneur, but have that structure. There are people brave enough to open their own business and just say, go, Whereas we said, it's all on us. All the money's on us. All the risk is on us. All the success is on us. But if I want to hand somebody a quarter, I can do that. If I want to have a pizza party, I can do that. If we want to close the store, I can do that too. And so I get a template, and the franchise teaches us and supports us ongoing, right? Whether it's the franchise group or the 80 something stores, I've got that network, and that's why they're there. And then you take my wife's talents, my talents, and then I can hire better than myself, right? I hire designers, people that are great at graphic design. And so we get to take, and we take it very seriously, our moral responsibility to our team. We're taking people that need experience, much like theater, much like anything that you can have a college degree, but they want to see experience. So I can give young people experience, give them our business knowledge, and then it's a stepping stone to where they're going. But in the meantime, we've all come together in all four worlds, franchise, my team, my wife, and I, to create business.
Now talk about the kind of business then you've created. So it's franchises is Big Frog, and it's apparel branding expert. What when you talk about apparel branding, what are you talking about? What kind of apparel?
When you're walking down the street or through the mall, and even when you just had Candice on for theater, you see a shirt that has a movie on it, that has a rock band, that famous Rolling Stones tongue. You see a New York Yankees. Something triggers you, right? I remember, I know that logo, I know that movie, I know that. That's expression and that's branding. And I mean, you know what the Nike logo looks like, the Under Armour logo looks like. So your company or your group ought to have the same thing, right? If so, you can advertise on social media, you can have a website, you can do whatever you want to do. But if your team or you are wearing your logo, there's nowhere you go that it will not be seen. 100% return on investment. So you have a hat on, a hoodie on, a shirt on, and your logo's on it, somebody's going to see it. And maybe it's not just logos for business. I mean, schools have a mascot, schools have individual clubs, churches have Sunday schools and mission trips and vacation Bible school, camps have something. There are events for every nonprofit. A theater has something every 2 weeks, as Candice talked about. And then sometimes you want to sell it, sometimes you have a gift, sometimes you're just, everybody's walking to advertise. And we do traditional screen printing and embroidery, but we also do what's called directed garment, which is a fairly new technology. It's a big inkjet printer, which allows you to print one-off items full color, just like an inkjet printer, what you see in a computer screen prints. So now somebody can get, we talked about pets before we all came on. You could actually have your four-legged kid, your cat, printed into a shirt. So now the world's opened up, because think about a small theater like HART. They don't want to buy 400 shirts to get a great price, so that they might have some left, they might not, but they put all their money into shirts. They could call us and order small orders for each show. So a retail-based space that now has a third option in apparel, and our job is to make sure you are visible through those things, having logos and self-expression all over.
Well, it's funny you say that, because one of the things I love, for some reason, I love getting T-shirts, and I've never got, I've only been a couple of small roles in a few shows, but other theaters, like you said, actually give out all the performers. They get a T-shirt for the show they're in. And what a great way to remember the show,
where everybody has a shirt from 20 years ago that they might not wear, but it's that game they went to, that concert they went to. It's memorable, and you wear it and you feel something. That's the reason apparel has changed so much over years. Self-expression matters whether you're branded or not. But in business, maybe you're a polo button-down person, maybe it's a hoodie, maybe it's tanks, but there is a reason to brand personally or professionally. You're right, it is a memory.
Well, you're so right, because I remember we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this past summer, and naturally we had to get 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame T-shirts. And that one, when you're talking about it, I'm thinking, David, I don't wear it all the time. That's not one I'm going to wear all the time, but on special occasions I wear it. That was kind of a memorable thing and it reminds me of that trip when we went out to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So people like them. But the incredible thing, David, about it is that it seems to be no age limit in terms of when people who want to wear T-shirts. I remember for my mom's, I think it was 70th birthday, my brother got for the whole family T-shirts commemorating the occasion, and we all wore them. And I still have that T-shirt, I think.
Yeah, and now
So
you can do it where unfortunately people die and you don't want to like be sad, so we can print shirts with the deceased face and everybody stands up to celebrate, or a 50th anniversary.
Have you done that?
We've done all those. That was one of our first clients when we opened 5 years ago. We opened on a Wednesday, and the following Tuesday, somebody said, and it was a big story on the news. If I talked about it, people would remember it.
Right.
But they came in and said, we just had a dear friend that passed away in a tragic shooting, and the funeral's Saturday. And so we're printing 70 shirts with her face, our rest in peace. And so when I celebrate my 50th wedding anniversary, there was still color when I grew up. But anybody think about somebody, our parents, when they celebrated their 50th, um, uh, or our grandparents, they were black and white photos of their wedding. So imagine a shirt with a full black and white photo that or you can superimpose, have the black and white next to a recent one. You can do anything on a shirt that you could do in a computer, and that's the great technology. So complete fun with one-offs, or seriously, like there's a ton of solo entrepreneurs. You're in a group called the Home Business Success Group, where they're their own bosses and their own employees, and you only need one shirt, or maybe you need five, one for every day, but you don't need 50, you don't need 100. And oh, maybe your kid needs one, or you want to give one to a vendor. So there's a reason to have small runs and custom. But then if somebody needs, like the hospital needs 3,000 shirts, I'm happy to do it, right? A nonprofit needs 1,500 shirts. That's the difference in today's world, that you aren't stuck with one or two color screen printing and here we go. And you can do so many more things. And the reason we are experts is everybody prints. At the end of the day, you can hit the button at midnight and order shirts online. But what are you getting? Why do you need them? Our job, and how did I grow two stores? Everywhere I went, I had our logo. I lived it. So where should the logo go? How's it going to look on different apparel, doing different print techniques? What is the purpose, right? Because if you're a high-end financial company and you're working in t-shirts in a non-Zoom world, probably not the right image. You need button downs. Landscaping, you're going to run through shirts like faster than anything. So you need a lot of shirts inexpensively, so that they have shirts with the simple logo, because they're going to get them again. Purpose and features, benefits, cost with anything. And that's what we do in a retail setting. So you can actually come and sing and dance in our store, which is cool, as opposed to the traditional way.
What's the most unusual piece of apparel you ever branded?
Well, being able to do one to thousands, but we've had all kinds of requests of weird of weird things on shirts. But even 5 years in, it never ceases to amaze me. A lady comes in, a younger lady, and had a whole bunch of thongs a couple weeks ago. Now they were wrapped, they were clean, and she said, could you print these? I'm not going to say what she wanted printed on them, but I'm shaking my head, because I did a pair of panties for the Asheville roller derby team 4 years ago, but I'm like, a thong seemed just completely different. We've done high-end backpacks and embroidery to simple shirts, but there's just it's just crazy. I mean, isn't it Dr. Seuss says, oh, the things we will do, or there's some famous expression like, it's like, because we can, people ask us to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When people, again, pointing out one of the values of working with you and your staff is that so people can come into your store and you can help them actually finalize their ideas, because I guess some people don't know what they should put on their t-shirt. And I guess
Right,
that's where you come in.
right, you could walk into a traditional screen printer and they kind of draw it up and disappear behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, and you hope for the best. Or you can do it online, and we have a team with that's all they do for a living. I mean, just like Candice would say, they've wanted to design since they were 5, and they fiddled with it in their free time, and then they went to college for it. And so that's what they're doing. And then you add my business knowledge and how I grew the business is doing that. But it's a retail store, so you get to see not only all different types of apparel, but different types of print. And then we can get samples in, and in some cases actually do a one-off version printed. But then we design for free. So the whole time talking about this may look great on the white business card or on Facebook or on the website, but it's going to take a different expression, different medium, right? Just like we spoke earlier before we started, that radio versus now our faces. There's a different emotion to it. So same thing, your logo's fabulous on a lit screen, but how's it going to look on this type of apparel? Is it thread? Is it ink? Is it inked in? Is it inked on? People don't think about the things like, oh, I want a sleeve print, and I'd say, which sleeve? They'll go the left, and I'd say it's not the left, because your crest logo is on the left. It should be on the right, because that's what you shake hands with. And somebody would say, well, I want a full front and a full back. I said, that's too much. There's now the little crest part right underneath the collar and back. So but then somebody will say, well, I need 100 shirts. I want them for $5 each, and I want them in 3 days. Well, there's different things. Oh, you want the lowest price because you're giving them away like a guitarist throws out picks at the concert. That's one thing. You need customizable, detailed things. Another price. Quick versus. So our job is a series of questions, just like in any business, to find out what the needs are and then how we can help, and our advice. Then we design, and then we print. And that therein lies, I mean, we do branded apparel, not just shirts. And we don't just print. We are the experts. It's our job. And I mean, in 5 years, we hit 350 Google reviews and still have a 5.0. That doesn't mean we're perfect. We've messed up more times this week than I care to, but it means how we pivoted and how we took care of our clients through the whole experience, which starts with before they even enter the store, whether it's the social media or the things I do in public, to after the shopping, from a handwritten thank you note to follow-ups later or something. That's what wins you over in business. Isn't that short, quick interaction and getting the job done and over?
You have me laughing, David, because I remember an experience very similar to what you just described. Is that I was using imprinted pens, and all I cared about at the time, which was a mistake, was, I think online was just coming into play, but I just went somewhere and got the world's cheapest pens, and they were great until the first one started to leak, and then people were ready to kill me, so it was a great decision by myself, but I didn't have you to bounce it off on or look through some of the ramifications. And it's helpful because people make mistakes, people do stupid things. And
right.
Nothing wrong with being economical, but as you pointed out, what's the purpose of it?
I don't do promotional products. Right. We do some, like
right.
when you can do an apron or a golf towel or tailor things to your clients. But you think about a promotional product, everybody says the pen, the keychain, the something. I've seen insurance agents that give you the little stone coaster that fits in the drink holder, and it has their logo. So now every time somebody puts their drink in there, they're going to see that logo and then the condensation of the glass. So they tailored it to, we do auto insurance. Here's something for your auto. Same thing we do. What is the best to help your brand succeed? And you see a lot of people dumb something down to one color in screen printing because that's what they can afford. Well, that's not the logo. Now there's an option to be able to show the full logo.
And the other beautiful thing about your business, and specifically you, is that, again, just talk to myself personally, but anytime I get a t-shirt, as an example, I say thank you, and there aren't too many other forms of advertising, David, that I know, that when you watch TV, you don't say thank you to it, but I remember, because the very first time you weren't at the meeting, but I attended a meeting, and I remember thanking you for this, and that you couldn't be at the meeting, but you gave away a t-shirt as a door prize. And I thought that was just kind of cool, and I remember I wrote you and said thank you, because not too many times do I win something, and it was just very, very nice. And so that's a powerful thing about giving people an imprinted brand of, something. They're going to thank you for it. David,
Yeah,
let's
and thank
just,
you. I know you said that. I mean, the one thing you heard me do was give a presentation about being outside the store, because we're all in business, but how do you swim upstream among the internet and the rest of the businesses? And that's one way. There's an expression: start with the heart and the business will come. So yes, I was in this networking group that's a free, no, I mean, no exclusive seats. You go when you can go. You were there, I wasn't, and I loved the concept of it. You go and you start connecting. So I printed enough shirts ahead of time where somebody was going to win. Yes, it's shameless branding for me. You got it from Big Frog, and it was a gift. But as part of a group, it's allowing the host to give something at the end. It's allowing somebody to win. It's allowing us to come closer together, especially in Asheville and Western North Carolina. It's not, when Candice talked about the dream was go to New York City because that's where theater happens. And then you realize theater can happen anywhere. Where's the closeness? I have a store in Durham, which isn't as quaint as Asheville. Asheville is the type of area that allows you to touch and connect and be a part of something. So, as an entrepreneur, utilize that, make it matter, and you connect. You just don't hope that the business comes.
by the way, for the time when I will be getting out again, which is coming very close, where is your store in Asheville?
It's South Asheville. We're
Where?
on Airport Road, so the
Okay, I
opposite
know it.
side of the interstate, then the Ag Center and the airport, right there, and in all the crazy growth of South Asheville, where there's still land left to build, they're slowly taking it away. But yes, that's where the counties all come together. One side of the road's Henderson County, one side's
Right.
Buncombe County, and it's the main artery out of Brevard, right there.
But where are you located on there?
So there's a huge Target shopping center
I know it. Yeah,
right off of Airport, and in between the Target Center and the interstate is Cracker Barrel, which is I
I
mean,
know
that's
it.
like a
Yeah.
beacon. That's it. We're right next. We're in that parking lot.
Okay. Well,
Cracker Barrel is a beacon in the southeast. I know where those are. Is what
okay.
Southerners will say.
So now I can get to see you. And David, let's just go from there to the other thing that's always impressed me about you is the fact that you, I think, do this as well as anybody I've ever seen. But rather than just stay in your store all the time, which you're in the store obviously at times, but you're also out and about when about any other guy I've ever seen, and talk about how that impacts the success of your business.
So a sole entrepreneur has to do the work, right? So I mean, they don't have payroll or a physical structure and have those great advantages. The disadvantage is it's hard to network when you're doing the work. My advantage and disadvantage is I pay rent and I pay payroll, and it costs more money to have that, right? Our business model, but it allowed me to work on the business rather than in, which is key. Even as a solo entrepreneur, you do have to spend time working on growing it and learning and not just doing. So with me, then yes, we knew from the beginning, my wife and I said, we want to be more than the name on the door. What is a Big Frog? What is a custom t-shirt? Why should I buy screen printing from you when there's 40 people in their garage, or there's a 200 Etsy ladies, or I could buy it online? You buy from us because there's an expression: know, like, and trust. And in one group, we've said know, like, trust, and respect. Anybody can know you. We all know Walmart, Hampton Inn, McDonald's. They were one store once. They've lost those values of community. Walmart will say between the between the restrooms, look at what we've done for the community. It's all checks. Well, the only way you get to that size is if you become, that store becomes bigger than itself. And so, yes, I joined 4 chambers. And it didn't cost as much. It cost the same amount as one chamber in Durham. But I joined 4 chambers. Couldn't go to everything, but it was 4 diverse groups. And then I'm on the board of a couple nonprofits. And then I continue to do learning things. If like AB Tech and Blue Ridge Community College would have a seminar, I go. And I mean, whether it's a 1 hour thing, a day thing, a week thing, I went because I wanted to keep learning. I went to groups because I wanted to be a part of something. I go to ribbon cuttings because you want to support somebody. If you go and do everything for the sake of selling, because business cards are not invoices, you will fail. If you go to learn, to connect, to make community stronger. By making community stronger, it makes you stronger. And there's lots of communities. It could be the home business success group you're in on Facebook. It could be your radio station. For me, there's a franchise, there's an industry, there's a chamber, there's the group we talked about where you won the shirt. Lots of mini communities, and you know your reach, right? You know what you can fit in time wise, personality wise, monetary wise. Find those communities that have something to offer you and you to offer them to be a part of without selling. And then you know what? Then people, oh, they know what a big frog is, but they can also tell a Dave story. And it's not, oh, that guy died that owned the t-shirt place. And I hope that not the case. I hope not going anywhere, but you get the point. And oh, we like him. Now, the difference with me is I can talk about my store all the time, but there has to be a solid basis when you go in there. So that's the leadership of, if I'm not going to be in there, my team better back up the story. And then trust comes from years of referrals and reviews and our learnings and constantly changing. So it's been 5 years of being a part of the community, being chamber ambassador, being board member, being something that helps other people while we're helping ourselves.
And you also shared, David, kind of a really good piece of advice to the one Zoom seminar I attended that you presented at, having to do with when you go to a meeting, and I kind of like how you said it and why you said it. Your recommendation was you shouldn't just get there at the beginning of the meeting and leave at the end of the meeting. What do you tell folks?
Well, even in Zoom, you'd see people show up right as it starts and click off, or I've got to run, I have another meeting. Then it's not important. It's really not important to, why did you schedule a meeting? If you knew this group is from X time to X time, and all of those people become your tribe, they become your army, they become your referral sources. If you've got to go first to leave, or you've got to be last one in, it doesn't help. You get there early and you stay late. Why? Because you get to welcome people. You get to say bye. You get to have one-on-one conversations. Giving your 1-minute speech like you're brilliant. Do you know how many, brilliant sound bites there are? It's like you don't get to know anybody. That's where one-on-ones come, and growing a relationship. You see somebody, and we used to run in all the same circles. Circles mean circle of influence, just that phrase, and then a circle hug. Now we're running in squares for the year, and we want to go out in public, and we want to be in that circle, and you want to continue. I've seen you here, I've seen you there, I've gotten to know you. Just be a part. Just don't show up.
David, my contention is similar to, I think, what you're saying, is that, as you pointed out earlier, there are lots of businesses out there, so why do I do business with you? I contend I do business with you for one of two reasons. One, because you solve my needs, which I hope most people would, but the second part, and a lot of people forget this, I do business with you because I like you, and if I like you, as opposed to just being a merchant, somebody I just come in and buy from once, I'm going to keep going back to you and not think about anybody else.
There are people that respect you more for how you handled something than if it was perfect, because as much as they want it all perfect, too many people go just for the price. That's the reason the Walmarts or Dollar Generals exist. But it's not about how you handle it at normal times. It's how you react when it's not great, right? Shirts didn't come in when we needed them. Something went boom with the machine. It's the service, the communication, the absolute transparency. Fall on the stinking sword as an owner. You are not perfect. You will not win them all. Don't think you are the best. Be humble and just say, you know what? I need help, because you're always going to. So don't be afraid to admit it and say, yep, I'm still learning, because that's what life is, right? You're still, they go in cycles. That entrepreneurial cycle is like this every single day. It's like an equalizer.
Next question. How do you get back and forth between running a business in Asheville and Durham?
Great people. Never underestimate or undervalue your people. That was my strength. I said, I'm not a designer. I was not a bookkeeper. I didn't know custom apparel. I can learn. I can connect. but I can hire well. So it's having great people. And yes, I get to have good conversations on the road, clear my head, and have a great executive board meeting with myself for 4 hours of driving, crank up the music and go, I have a brilliant epiphany that's going to save the world on the way there. But it's all having the right people that allow me to go out.
And a good pair of roller skates.
It never hurts that skateboard down I-40. Yes.
If folks want to find out more about your firm, what's the best bet? Real quick.
Pretty simple. I mean, you Google Big Frog Asheville, and it will pull up. We've worked long and hard to make that. I mean, Facebook Big Frog Asheville, Instagram Big Frog Asheville, and email Asheville Big Frog. So it's all Big Frog Asheville. Even if you just Google Big Frog in the area, I'm sure it's going to show up. And we'd love to say hi. And even if it's not shirts, you just want to talk business or networking or community, love it. That's what we do.
Thanks, David Riddell, for being my guest this second half hour, Candice Dickinson, my first half hour, and to Amy Brisnash, my producer. Hope to see you next week. Thanks. See you soon.